My name is Steve DeZiel, and I work with the state of North Dakota. I'm an IT specialist in EduTech, which is the Educational Services Division with North Dakota Information Technology. Joining me today is ND's K-12 Information Systems Security Analyst, Stephen Palmer. NDIT is doing whatever possible to ensure that the entities we support are able to function in a wide variety of situations. For K-12 schools, we know our North Dakota administrators and educational personnel are carefully navigating how to proceed with classes, communication, and collaboration while addressing concerns around COVID-19. Through all this, EduTech's mission remains the same, to provide technology services and leadership to improve teaching and learning in North Dakota schools. We are continuing that mission by providing this webinar series and are here to support our ND K-12 community with support, training, and resources. And like I said, I'll give you a link at the end here where all of these recordings are being held. So today we're going to be talking about basic tips for online security at home. And you should be seeing a presentation, and we'll be going through this presentation as we're talking with some talking points. And like I mentioned before, you do have the option to post questions in the conversation thread. We'll be answering those as we're going here. And then at the end, you will have an option to ask any questions or concerns you may have. So I'm going to switch to the next slide here. And we're going to talk about some different facets to be aware of when working from home, because as you know, we're all working from home, doing different things, conducting online meetings with students. So we want to be aware of these things and take into consideration that we're being secure while online. So phishing. Oh. Okay, I got a little feedback there. That's okay. So phishing is identified as a method of trying to gather personal information using deceptive emails and websites. It's increasingly becoming a sophisticated form of cyber attack. So hackers use phishing cyber attack methods. They're trying to get victim to do one of the following two things. Hand over sensitive information like your username or password, and also to download malware, and we'll be touching on malware in a little bit here. Steve, do you want to add a few things to that? You have a second.
Yeah, just the big thing about the username and password, that's the keys to the kingdom and what you're doing in the schools. So if they can gain that access to your username and password, they can impersonate you and use your information to gain access into other spots in the network and then launch attacks from your computer or your network to other ones. So it is very critical for them to be able to gain that access. So being aware of these phishing and the malware that's available out there is really important. And then having strong username and passwords is also critical. It's still to this day, password 123 is the most popular password out there. We're trying to help educate everyone to make sure that they come up with a little more sophisticated ones, using passphrases and such like that, and using the alphanumeric system helps make it a little harder for the hackers to crack your password. So just be aware of that when you're setting up a new account or you're changing your password on your regular password or change intervals. So.
Okay, and Steve, do you want to walk us through this phishing example here? Kind of go through the different areas, some things to watch out for.
Yeah, I sure can. Over the last 5 to 10 years, the hackers have and the phishing experts have become a lot better at what they're doing. It used to be 5, 10 years ago, we would tell you to look for bad spelling of words, grammatical errors, generic comments like dear user or valued customer or such like that. And to a degree, I think they've been taking some of our phishing training because they've gotten a lot better about making sure their emails look real. And they use this by spoofing websites or spoofing realistic emails from, like, say, Amazon or places like that. So some of the things you want to look for in these better crafted emails from the hackers is to, look for, is the email actually who it says it's from? Like on the top one there, it says Facebook tech support. Well, if you look at the email out to the side, it doesn't come from Facebook tech support. It looks like a generic email address that does not relate to Facebook. So that's one area to check on. If a website or an email has a web link in there and it says, say, facebook.com tech support, that's what they typed in there. But if you hover over it with your mouse, it will display the true link behind that hyperlink for you. And you may find that some of them have gotten even better about saying facebook.com. They could put an @ sign in place of that A in the link, making it look like it's your eye that does say Facebook, when it actually it's going to take you to a spoof website. So not only do you want to look at the website link and the URL behind it, but you want to carefully look at the spelling of that website as well, because they will use, like what we recommend with passwords, is changing ones and I's together and threes and E's. They'll do that same thing for those website links so that your eyes will see that this is legit and is actually going to one of their sites. So those are some of the indicators there. Also in the phishing emails, stuff like that, you have to ask yourself, did I request this information from that person, or do I know that person? Those are the ways that you can kind of screen those as well. Let's see, no indication. They make it generic, so it's not, like in that example, it says no indication that they know who you are. So if they were to send it to me, they would say Steve Palmer or something like that, versus, hey, you are our notification here. So there's a lot of little indicators within an email that you can check and look at for, spelling, grammatical errors, the website links. Is it personalized? I mean, is it tailored to you? Did you request that from that individual? And if it has an attachment, again, did you request that information? If not, and you know the person, call them, ask them. So this is a lot of the ways to prevent phishing attacks, is just to kind of do your own pre-screening. Make sure you read through that email fully, understand what it's asking. So.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. So yeah, you basically covered a lot of the methods to prevent phishing, but just kind of reiterating on some of those. There are steps you can take to prevent that, to prevent phishing attacks. Like he said, always check the spelling of the URLs and email links before you click or enter sensitive information. Watch out for URL redirects where you'll suddenly sent to a different website with identical design. Like he said, these hackers are being sophisticated. They're creating websites that look exactly like other ones to steal your information if you're inputting password and information to log into those different sites. If you receive an email from a source but it seems suspicious, you always want to contact that source with a new email. Don't hit reply to that email. Start a new email and send it directly to that person you have in your contacts. Don't post personal data, your birthday, vacation plans, or your address or phone number publicly on social media. A lot of phishers are going to gather that information from your social media, and if you have your password set up as those things that you're releasing out there on these different social media platforms, they can oftentimes figure out your password from the information you post. Take the time to fully read an email. Look for obvious spelling and grammatical errors. That's oftentimes a symbol or a trigger that this may be something that is a phishing email. And always ask yourself, did I request this information? Just sit back, take a moment, and just kind of think about because with everything going on, there's a lot of busy. It's a busy times right now, so just be aware that did you ask for this information, or is it being given to you maliciously? Or do I know?
Steve?
Yep, go ahead.
I just want to add to that one about posting your personal data and your vacation plans online. I know a lot of people like to post that while they're on vacation, showing everybody they're having fun and what they're doing. But really what you're telling hackers and criminals is that you're not home. So it's not just a phishing issue, it's also a physical security thing. You're telling people, I'm not at my house, I'm out enjoying myself here, miles away. Please come and rob me. So it's also a good security measure on the physical security side of that as well. So just want to point that out.
Thank you, Steve. Very good point there. And so those are some ways to prevent some phishing. And Steve, I'm going to let you talk to this one, and I'll just play the slide as you're.
Okay, go ahead. So malware by definition is a software program. It's a basic, simply written software program designed to disrupt, damage, or gain unauthorized access to a computer. It's going to gain access to your computer. It's going to encrypt your data. This is where they do that, the malware, where they want to encrypt your data and then use the crypto or bitcoins to sell it back to you, if they even do. So it also helps them gain access inside your network, which is very critical, because not only do they have the potential of getting your data, they have the potential of getting everybody's data. So there are several different places that malware can come from. Go ahead, Steve. Websites. If you were to click on a website that's kind of suspicious, what? Oh, you click on a website that is suspicious or kind of questionable. When you click on that link, they could have scripts running in the background downloading malware to your computer, and it looks like an ad, or it looks like you're signing up for notifications of new updates to software or something like that. And when in actuality, they are installing software on your computer so that they can gain that access. Emails, like we just talked about with phishing, they have attachments in those emails, and no software is really exempt. Excel, Word, Adobe Acrobat, they all can have macros inside of them that will install malware. Once you click on that to open it up, if it could be an invoice or a notification of birthday party, e-cards, whatever, those are opportunities for people to install malware on your computer. And those documents or attachments, like I said, they can come in all shapes and sizes: Word, Excel, PDFs, all that good stuff. They're all, if it's a software, they do have a possibility of being vulnerable. And if there's a hacker out there that can exploit it, they will. So be aware that what malware does and what they're ultimately looking for, and how they're trying to get you to do that stuff. Because once they get that malware on your computer, you've created a link for them inside your network, whether it be the work or school or home network. So it is very best interest to be aware of what they are trying to do and why they are trying to do it and what they're trying to get. So
Yeah, very good point, Steve. And as you kind of, okay, there we go. As you are kind of aware, you're working from home now. Where a lot of us are not under that umbrella of our StageNet network. So it's important to remember, that you're accessing your home network. So just to be aware of these things and different things that that can come in that sometimes are protected on our umbrella within North Dakota on StageNet. Okay, so we're going to go to the next slide here, and we're going to talk about digital citizenship. So when you're in the classroom and you have rules and expectations that you expect out of your students. Now, when we're online, those are going to change a little bit, but they shouldn't change drastically. Your expectations in your classroom should be the same as online rules. The students oftentimes think they can get a little away with a little more, but if you set the expectations high and set example for your students, that'll give them a good pathway to follow and learn how to become respectful citizens online. And we're going to, in the next couple slides here, we're going to talk about netiquette and the 10 rules of netiquette. And these are really good points here that we're going to make about being respectful online and being aware of your presence online, what you post, and just because oftentimes we get away from remembering that what we do online reflects a lot of our personal biases oftentimes, so we want to make sure that we're being respectable to all different people that we're interacting with online. It's a great way for students to learn what the expectations of them are online and how their peers should also act. So once you start setting the example, they're going to pick that up, and their peers are going to be um, following them. And we all need rules and guidelines. So those are all very important, that we set those guidelines, and we set them high standards to those expectations. Okay, Steve, you can cover the first 5 rules of netiquette. I'll hand it over to you.
All right, thanks, Steve. So go ahead. The first one. The first one is remember the human, and especially now, since we're all working in our virtual worlds now, it's easy to forget that when you're looking at that monitor or that smartphone, that there's a human on the other side of that you're talking to, and vice versa. They are also as well. So the technology that we're using now is a tool to reach the people. We need to remember that those people on the other side, they're humans. They have feelings. They have names and faces, and it's easy to disconnect that when you're just looking into a camera and feeding that back. And even right now, we're not seeing each other, but we're talking. So if you can add it, and if it doesn't hurt the bandwidth in the situations, I recommend doing the video conferencing so you can at least see that human and make that connection again in these environments. And there's a lot of good tools and teams that can help with that, and we're using it right now. So if we wanted to, we could all open up our window or videos and see that. So just make sure that you understand that the tool that's in front of you that connects to the human, that there is a person behind that, and that'll help move that forward. So adhere to the same standards of behavior online you follow in real life. In the classroom, growing up, before we had all these computers, we knew that, running in the hallway, raise your hand, no talking out of turn. We know those rules, and we adhere to those standards. It's the same standards you have in your classroom when we are back in school. Those have to be adhered to online and enforced online too. Otherwise, it could get chaotic. So make sure that the rules that you establish in the classroom carry over into this online environment that we're working on now. So where you are in the cyberspace, that's a good one, because right now, physically, the state of North Dakota is right by Montana, South Dakota, and Minnesota. But on the internet, our IP addresses are no different, and our neighbors could easily be North Korea, South America, Arizona. We're all close neighbors on the internet. So know where you are. Remember that we live in a digital world, so we are all neighbors. So understand that. Go ahead. Respect other people's time and bandwidth. This one is a new one and kind of a blend from the old one. The bandwidth part I'll talk about first is, this is back in the days when people had modems or slower, by today's standards, slower internet connections. And the movies and everything else like that, what people would send would be funny, but they would take forever to download. And then once you waited that 5-10 minutes for that to download it, that cat video really wasn't that funny. So it is a bandwidth issue, but I think that's a holdover from the older days. The people's time, though, more and more people are having email accounts on their cell phones, and those cell phones typically sit by their bedsides at night. So if you are one of those individuals who says, well, I can't sleep, I can send out emails at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you do, that's great, but your customers or your students or staff will get those emails at 3 o'clock in the morning. So respect their time and use the tool of doing a delayed delivery till 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever normal business hours would be for your environment. And that way you can respect those people's times. Even though you can't sleep, they probably enjoy their sleep as well. So make yourself look good online. When I was doing the research on this, when I first found this netiquette stuff, there was a math and science teacher who used this, and he Googled himself in his class in front of his students, and it came back with that he was the president of the local math and science club and all the positive stuff. Make sure that they understand that what's on the internet can really reflect who you are, who they are when people Google it. It's mostly a concern when it comes to high schoolers who are starting to look for those scholarships and jobs. Employers and colleges are going to do research on that. So I kind of talked about is we're not talking about, you know, glamour shots or anything else like that. We're talking about who your digital citizenship image is on the internet, so that when people do go to research you, it is positive. You do have positive outlook and Facebook posts and whatever the greatest social is. So, Steve, do you want to take the next 6?
You betcha.
Okay.
So rule 6 is sharing expert knowledge. Share what you know. There's so much technology and software out in the world these days that no one can be an expert on everything. So if you can help someone with a software device, you know, offer that assistance. They will someday help you or someone else, paying it forward and making everyone better at the same time. Rule 7, help keep flame wars under control. Does anyone know what flame wars are? Well, it can be one of 2 things. Flaming is starting arguments on message boards, troll or trolling, and also to deliberately post something offensive on the internet to provoke a reaction. These are rarely, if ever, positive. Don't start or contribute to flame wars. Okay, so just remember, don't fall into that mindset. Rule number 8, always respect other people's privacy. You know, that's a huge thing. You know, if you are online and asking, you know, specific questions and you don't really know this person about private things, you know, you might want to take that in consideration. That might not be appropriate for the situation. Rule 9, don't abuse your power. You're entrusted with a position of authority and responsibility. Don't use that to you know, use your own to emphasize your own beliefs or you know, like I said before, personal biases or anything like that. So we all have, you know, different things, but we want to make sure that we don't take advantage of that with our knowledge about technology. And then rule 10 is forgiving of others people's mistakes. Everybody's going to make mistakes. You don't have to look very far in any of the social media or news websites to find other people's mistakes. You know, there's always going to be grammatical errors and emails, spelling errors. Just be, you know, courteous of those and you know, help people improve upon each other. And also your students, they're going to make mistakes with all of the different online options we've given them now. And I think those are good learning opportunities for them to take with them in this current remote learning environment. Okay, so those are kind of the rules of netiquette. Just a good thing that you probably want to share with your students and with your staff, just so everybody's on the same page and they start realizing a lot of those different things. So Steve, I'm going to let you take over the software patch.
Okay. Get my notes up here. So software operating systems out there, we have in K-12 across the state, there's Windows and Macs and Chromebooks and iPads. And arguments can be said of which ones are better and all this other stuff. But when it really comes down to it, they all need to be patched. There's security updates, security flaws that need to be addressed. And in these, you want to make sure that you're the most current on all the softwares that are on your system, not just the operating systems, but any of the third-party stuff. But for like Windows and devices like that, you can turn on automatic updates. You'd have to check on your system, your operating system particularly, or in with your schools, make sure that they have those turned on. But we're also talking about when you're working from home, your home network and your devices also need to make sure that those are on the most current patched operating systems, and then all the security patches are applied, because any patch that's not applied is a vulnerability that the hackers could exploit. So when you're working at home and you have the school-owned or government-owned devices, they could be subject to being hacked because one of your devices isn't patched as well, and they're all on the same network. So you want to make sure that your operating systems are up to date on the most current patches, and check to make sure that they have automatic updates turned on, and that'll be one less thing you have to worry about. So third-party stuff as well, the applications. A lot of people use Chrome and Adobe and stuff like that. Those are considered third-party applications. So they don't always receive automatic updates, but they do have the options in those softwares to turn them on. And you want to check to make sure that they are on and that you are at the most current version, because those will also pose opportunities for hackers to get in. So go ahead.
And Steve, it's always a good idea. It's always a good idea to stay in contact with your tech coordinators at your district levels, just to make sure that your devices are set up for receiving updates. I know, I know a lot of folks are using Chromebooks out there, so you want to make sure that you're receiving those updates for the operating system, and make sure those are turned on. So if you have questions about those, I would refer to your local districts to make sure that your updates are being received and your devices are being properly updated. Okay, so Steve, I'll let you take over this one, and virus and malware.
Okay, so talking about your home computers and such, we want to make sure that you, at least for the Microsoft devices, you have Windows Defenders turned on. That is a sufficient antivirus, anti-malware software. There are better softwares out there that are a little more aggressive for protecting your device, but they do cost money. Windows Defender does come with the most current versions of Windows, so it should be on there. But other examples of softwares that you can have out there are Semantic Antivirus, been around for quite a while, pretty good. McAfee, Trend Micro, and Avast. Those are all softwares that you can, antivirus and malware softwares that you can purchase. And then if you don't have those on your home devices, I would recommend it. On the Mac devices, they also have software that's available for them as well. Macs are not necessarily targeted as often with malware, but they are still susceptible to it. And any device that connects to the network does have the option or opportunity for hackers to hack. It's just in today's world, Windows devices are more popular amongst consumers, so they are attacked more often. So there's a lot more software available for those for antivirus, anti-malware. So you do want to make sure that again that this is a software that you have on your computers, but you also want to make sure that they are up to date for the version, and then also the definition files for antiviruses that are current. And it depends on the software that you have, but some of them come out daily, some of them come out weekly. You'll just have to check your systems and make sure you understand and know when that happens and how often, so that you know that your devices are protected from any antivirus or any viruses or malware.
Yeah, exactly, Steve. Just making sure that your virus malware is, a lot of times we'll get devices if you're using your personal device, and the installed where you got it from, that's the only thing you've really that trial version you've used when you first started using that device. I mean, did you renew it when it was time to update and so on? So just be aware of those types of things when you're working at home with different devices. So to kind of wrap things up here, we're going to go just talk about some main points. And we oftentimes hear this term cyber hygiene, taking care of some things that you just want to be sure you take care of to stay on top of the ever-changing cyber world. So basically, it's everything we just covered. Be aware, making sure all apps, operating systems, softwares are up to date. It's easy to just click that when you do receive an update or something, easy to click that, remind me tomorrow, and keep holding off. Well, we want to make sure we actually do it and complete those updates. Make sure you have strong, unique passwords for all accounts. Oftentimes, it's easy to, use the same password for everything, but that's not recommended. And use, different passphrases and so on. And instead of a O, put a 0 in there, put dollar signs different symbols in your passwords and make them very unique, and nothing that's going to be accessible for a phisher or somebody that's trying to gather information on you from social media. Don't use your daughter's name plus a 123 or whatever. So you want to make those unique passphrases, and so on. And also, one thing you really want to take into consideration is set a strong and unique password for your router login. You'd be surprised on how many, in different areas where I've been, and when I'm logging onto a router or internet, how many different routers are just open without a password. So that's a pretty scary thing if you don't have a password for your personal router at home to log in. Now, every single router internet service provider is going to be a little bit different. If you're not aware of your password or you want to change it, you're probably going to want to contact your ISP to learn how to change those settings, or to even be aware of if you are protected with a password. And lastly, you just want to be self-aware. Take a moment to respond to incoming items. You're very busy with email, and if you're using other platforms, there's all kinds of messages coming in. Just take a moment and step back and kind of take it all in and respond carefully to the incoming items, and just be self-aware of how you're handling these. If you're if there's a lot of links being sent to you in emails, make sure that you're taking the time to go through those to make sure they're legitimate. And also stay connected to your tech coordinator at your district. Like I said, ask them if you have questions about the devices that were sent home with you, or your children or your students. Make sure you know how they're receiving updates, if they're updated, if they have virus protection. Just stay connected to your tech coordinator, and they will help you guide you with the proper steps to take on keeping updated and so on with your devices. And like I said, it's a little bit different now that we're on our home networks. So just be aware of that, and feel free to contact your tech coordinators at your districts. So to wrap it all up, we'd like to really thank you for your time today. As always, we're here to assist you in being successful. Don't hesitate to contact our help desk, help@k12.nd.us. The resource there, the link is you'll notice on our EduTech webpage, there's only one banner item, and that is the COVID-19 resources. So it's easy to navigate to, and we are posting our webinars there, and any resources related that we feel that are backed by our partnerships and so on throughout. So trusted resources on that page. So again, we'd like to thank you, and if one of our team members wants to check the chat and see if there are any questions posted at this time, or if you folks out there have any specific questions, you can go ahead and unmute your microphone, and we'll give you a few minutes if you have specific questions. So at this time, we'll have about 5 minutes for questions. So Kelly or Tyler or Jason, if you want to look in the chat, is there any specific questions within there?
Hey, Steve, it's Tyler. One question we did have coming from Amy Burke. She was asking if there's a way to send an email at a later time. It looks like she's using the desktop application.
The desktop. I don't work with the desktop much. Is there anybody that would be able to help me out with that question?
This is Steve Palmer. Yeah, when you're in an email, you can select delivery options, and one of those options is delayed delivery. It's in the email itself. It's right next to the importance. Set the importance and priorities in that email. So there are delayed delivery options, and you can set the time and date if you wanted to.
Okay, thank you, Steve. And yeah, there are various applications within, no matter where you're using the desktop or the web version, you know, for creating emails, sending them at a later time, and so on. Any other questions?
I don't see any here, Steve. I think we are good to wrap it up.
Okay, again, thank you, folks, and feel free to reach out and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.